Chapter 27. Amelia. We spent almost half of the day together. I expected him at some point to turn back to his old self and ask me to leave, but he never so much as suggested it. Instead, he remained snuggled on the chair with his arms loosely wrapped around me. I don't know what this means, but I have to constantly keep reminding myself that he's engaged and I am only a surrogate, so this means nothing. We are just both lonely at the moment, so warm. He mumbled into my hair, slowly drifting into sleep. He's obviously exhausted. He mumbled some other words while nuzzling his face in the crook of my neck, drifting off to sleep. I slowly slid away from him and gently laid him back on the couch since I couldn't carry him by myself to the bed. I stooped down to my knees and stared at him for a while, tracing my hand across his face. He looks so peaceful and young when he sleeps. His chest was rising and falling rhythmically, as he slowly breathes. I stood up and walked over the bed to gather some pillows and duvet for him. That's when my eyes landed on his pill bottle laying neatly on the side table beside his bed. Shit. I cursed, remembering Susan had asked me to give them to him before he sleeps. I took my eyes back to his sleeping form on the couch. He looked so peaceful. I can't possibly wake him now. I decided to give them to him once he wakes up. But feeling curious, I picked up the pill bottle and began scrolling at the back before deciding to open it. I immediately recognized them as vitamins. I would know because Dr. Jones had prescribed the same for me, but strange, why is there a different description on the bottle? It's probably a mistake, I thought, placing it back carefully. I walked back to him and tucked him in, circling some pillows around him just in case he rolls off in the middle of the night or something, before slowly shutting the door and making my way to the kitchen. Craving ice cream. I swear my cravings have been getting worse lately. I spent the whole afternoon craving for burnt pizza. I mean, who the hell eats burnt pizza? I entered the kitchen where Susan was peering into the oven. I didn't think you would still be awake, I said, opening the fridge and reaching out for a bowl of delicious chocolate ice cream. I am making chicken lasagna, she said simply with her back still turned to me. I felt a bit nauseous at the mention of it. I am assuming Damien is sleeping? Yes, he's exhausted. I let out, taking a chair. She turned her to me and raised her brow on noticing the big bowl of ice cream in my hands. Don't judge yet, I shot back playfully. She laughed. It's normal. How far along are you anyway? She asks. I let a light sigh. 2 months and 3 weeks, but I swear it feels longer already. First pregnancies always feels that way, dear, she said with an encouraging smile, instantly reminding me of our awkward encounter this morning. Susan, about earlier, I started. She stops me. It's fine. That's the happiest I have seen him in a while, and it makes me very happy. That boy has been through enough trauma already. She said the last part in a sad tone. A little happiness would do him good. I felt my heart break at her last words. Why won't he talk about it? I let out a bit, agitated now. Has anyone even considered taking him to therapy or rehab? She chuckled slightly. We are talking about a stubborn grown-ass man, not some child. Plus Damien would never succumb to therapy, she said. True, but there's no harm in convincing him. The oven dinged, turning off, finally. She let out, turning to it. She slid her hands into an oven mitt and pulled the chicken lasagna from the oven and placing it on the counter. You should try taking him down to the pool house tomorrow, she said while cutting a portion of the lasagna on a plate. There's a pool house? Yes, behind the house. I am sure he would enjoy it. He used to love swimming when he was a child, she said with a smile as they placed a plate of chicken lasagna in front of me. But at the mere sight of them, my stomach beat. Chapter 28. Amelia. I woke up to soft sheets and the morning light trickling in through the blinds. Slowly I fluttered, my eyes opened, my eyelashes faintly batting against my lids when I blinked. I laid on my bed, debating whether or not I should get up. My muscles still felt weak, just like my energy. I let out an exasperated sigh, groaning as I rolled off of the sepia-colored bed to the bathroom to fresh up before I stepped back into the room. I was tying my hair into a bun when the door opened and Susan walked in with a smile and a tray of fruits in her hands. I assumed you would be starving after last night, she said, walking and placing it on the table. I smiled back. Thanks, Susan, and I am sorry for the inconvenience last night. I know you have a lot on your plate already. I apologized. It's fine, dear, I am glad I could be of help. She smiled. Now eat up. I need to check up on Damien, she said, turning to leave. I nodded and began eating, and thankfully this time it wasn't coming back up. After eating, I cleaned up and plopped onto the sofa. I reached out for the remote and began flipping through the channels. I squealed excitedly as I realized my favorite show, Grey's Anatomy, was airing. Amelia. A voice called. I turned to see Damien standing in the doorway with his walking stick. Here. I immediately stood up and reached out to him, taking his hand. I lead him to the sofa. What are you watching? He asked while settling down. I waited for him to comfortable sit down before doing the same next to him. Grey's Anatomy. I responded. That's all, he said. Wait? You have never seen Grey's Anatomy? I started and immediately palm-slammed myself for my choice of words. I mean before. Damn it. Amelia, just shut up already, I scolded myself. He chuckled, an actual heart-melting laugh. It's fine, Amelia, I am not in any way offended. He said, I was never a TV person. He added. I let out. Why does that surprise me? I turned back to the television screen and began explaining the show to him. It's a show basically focused on a group of doctors in Seattle and how they save lives and all that. Sounds boring. He deadpanned in a bored voice. I nudged his shoulder playfully. It's not. I whined. He chuckled. Okay. If you say so, he said, and smiled at him before turning my attention back to the TV screen. So right now, Amelia, Karasik, and DeLuca are the doctors. They are performing a risky procedure to remove a young patient's brain tumor. Meanwhile, Meredith and Joe, the other doctors, are working with a different polymers to try to salvage their project submission. He nudged me with his knee, making me stop mid-sentence. You do know I am blind, not deaf, right? He said with sarcasm dripping in his voice. I can hear everything that's going on, Amelia. You don't have to narrate it for me. He said, and I almost flushed with embarrassment. Thankfully he couldn't see me. Sorry. Don't be. I was teasing you, Amelia. I like hearing your voice in my ear. Plus no one has ever brought out so much time to explain their favorite TV series to me. He said the last part with an unusual level of affection in his voice. So, please continue. I cleared my throat as I had kept quiet for a long time, staring at him dumbfounded. I turned my eyes back to the screen. Right now an agent from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is searching the hospital for an employee. I began, and he seemed to relax, pulling me closer to him. After some few hours, the television was still turned on. Some soap opera was now airing on the channel, but the volume was turned low. We were snuggled up against each other in silence on the sofa, but it's a comfortable sort of silence. He's tracing his finger across every angle of my face as if trying to memorize every last feature. Beautiful. That's all, he said, moving closer to me. Then he began tracing every inch of my body until he found my neck, and in a second I felt his minty breath on the crook of my neck. Chapter 29. Amelia. The weather is gorgeous today. That means a high-pressure front, right? Blue skies, no wind, ambient temperature. It's more like an absence of weather, really. Perfect for my long-anticipated walk down the beach house. I slid into my bikini and shorts. Luckily I brought one with me and found my way to the pool house behind the main building. It's beautiful. Scanning the place, I checked to see anyone, but I see no one. Skinny dipping is one of my favorite things to do, but this would just have to do. For now, I quickly slipped out of my shorts and dashed into the water. I love the feel of the water against my body. I swim out to where it's deep. Doing a few laps up and down, I stop and lay back in the water, letting my limbs do the thinking for me. The water is so refreshing. Allowing it to take all of my worries away, I stretch out my arms, open my palms and release all bodily tension when I hear some voices. Dropping my body below the surface, I see Lucas and Damien walking towards the pool. Great. This is just what I need, to be half naked in a pool around two grown men. One whom I happened to be avoiding for days, rolling my eye drive dipper into the water, wishing they haven't noticed me. Having fun? I hear Lucas yell from the other side. I sigh and limp over to them. Hey! I smile at Lucas. I didn't know you were stopping by today? I said to Lucas. He smiled back. Me too. he said, making me chuckle slightly. I like your bikini. He said, not taking his eyes off my body. You look hot. He added. I took my eyes to Damien. He looked normal, unmoved by our conversation, but I could notice him clenching and unclenching, trying really hard to curtail himself. Deciding that was enough swimming for the day, I got off the pool. Damn it. I had forgotten to bring a towel with me, as if reading my mind. I will go get you a towel, Lucas said, leaving Damien and me alone. Could this day get any worse? I took my eyes around the pool, anywhere but him. You've been avoiding me? He speaks up after a while. And why would you think that? Asked, pretending to be clueless. I haven't heard from you in like 3 days. You're clearly avoiding me. Is it because of what happened last time? I scoffed. Not everything is about you, Mr. Gray, I said, stretching the last part. He moved closer and I clenched, scared he might fall into the pool. Why are you mad? He asked furiously. The last I remember you started it. You kissed me first, knowing full well I was engaged, so why does it suddenly bother you? He said. I gasped at his rude word. How dare he? Well, you don't have to worry about that anymore, because it would never happen again, I shot back. Emily. He gritted. Before he could continue, Lucas walks back. This is all I could find, he said, handing me a white robe. Thanks, this would do just fine, I said with a smile. So, what were you two whispering about? Lucas asked as I slid my hands into the robe. Nothing, Damien answered almost immediately. Take me inside, he ordered. Okay. Lucas stretched before holding his hand and leading him back to the main building. I just followed behind. As soon as we got in, I went into my room and changed into a dry cloth before picking up my dryer and drying my wet hair. The nerve of him to throw that in my face, like he didn't kiss me back, like I had seduced him or something. Asshole. Amelia, Lucas called from the other side of the room, snapping me out of my thoughts. Give me a minute, I yelled back. I switched off the dryer and tied my hair into a ponytail. I am glad that's over now, I muttered to my reflection in the mirror before grabbing my phone and slamming out the door. I walked into the living room where Lucas was glued to the screen playing video game alone. Where's Damien? I asked. In his room. He said something about wanting to lay down, he said with his eyes still glued to the screen. That's all I could say, plopping to the sofa and bringing my knees up. What are you playing? I asked, turning to the screen. I have no idea, he said.